Good morning, everybody. Guess what? You get to put up with me today. Jerry is busy right now, but that's okay because I'm excited. My name is JB Portillo, and I have with me today Katherine Gilman, who is not only a master gardener, but you just joined the garden club as well, right?
I did.
Right.
Yep.
Could you give me the elevator speech on who Katherine is?
Well, I'm a former teacher.
Okay.
I recently resigned, and I like to spend time in my garden. So that's all I do now is stay home and play in my garden all day.
Well, and I understand our subject matter today is one of you're an expert at this. Is that right?
I don't know if I'm an expert, but I have a huge passion for dahlias.
For dahlias.
And so that's what I primarily grow. I have over about 500 plants this year that I'll be growing of just dahlias in my garden.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. You brought some incredible pictures we're going to look at later. But right now, I want to brag. Let's brag a little bit on the Master Gardeners. You want to?
Yes.
Okay, so the first thing we won, I think, was the Project of the Year, correct?
Yes.
And that's Hawkins House?
Hawkins House, yes.
Have you worked on that project?
I have not worked on that project, no.
Well, I understand it's amazing.
Yes.
And then we won Mentor of the Year, and that's
Yes.
our
John
really
Sparks,
sweet
right?
John Sparks.
Yes.
He always smiles, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was amazing.
Yep.
But then, and she just gets crazy when you talk about this, and she's sitting in the studio audience today. Our president,
Joanne York.
yes, won
Master Gardener of the Year.
for the state.
Yes. Yep.
So there you go. So we're masters.
Yes. We won almost all categories, correct?
We really did, and that was an awful lot of hard work. I mean,
Yes.
Joanne really, well, everybody works hard, but Joanne really has done over and above because she took over the presidency for part of a year for somebody, and then I think she's running on her second year on her own. I'm not sure, but something like
Yes.
that. But anyway, I want to thank our sponsors for this show. That's the Master Gardeners, the Benton County Master Gardeners. We totally appreciate them because we are them.
Yes.
And the Garden Club of Bella Vista is also a sponsor. So
Yes.
without that, this program couldn't happen. And through the Bella Vista Garden Club, we have won a national award for this show.
Yeah.
So, you ready to talk about your fun things?
I am.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so how did you get started? Why is this your passion?
Well, when I moved down here, we rented a house for a little while, and then when we went to buy a house, I actually moved into a house that was a former master gardener.
Okay.
So she has lots of beds that have flowers and stuff in it and things growing in the backyard that I thought were weeds, possibly maybe flowers. I wasn't for sure. I'd never grown flowers before. And so I started researching and finding out what things were so I knew how to take care of it. And eventually my friend, my teacher friend, I was a teacher then, said, oh, you need to check out Florette, which is an online show. And so I watched that and just fell in love with dahlias, the fields of dahlias that they have. And so that year, Joanne came in and I said, I'm going to quit teaching and I'm going to be a flower farmer. And so that year I resigned and I started growing dahlias, and it's just become this huge obsession.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So let's look at some of the things you brought with you today.
Okay.
Let's talk about those, and kind of like from when you plant it and what happens
Yep.
and when it
I can
blooms.
go through that.
Yeah, go through that.
Okay, so there are 3 ways that you can grow dahlias. You can grow them from seed, from a tuber, or you can propagate from the tuber. So this is a plant that I have grown from a seed.
Really?
Yes. So I have about 500 seedlings right now in my house growing.
Do you have a greenhouse?
I do not.
Okay.
So I have about 500 of them in my house right now that I've grown from seed. Now dahlias are really interesting because when they're grown from seed, you don't know what you're going to get.
Color-wise?
At all. Form, color,
Oh.
anything. You have no idea. So you have to wait till it grows and blooms to actually find out what's hiding inside. So that's why I really like growing from seed. There's a lot of hybridizers that strictly only grow from seed, so that way they can introduce new varieties of dahlias into the world, and people go crazy over them.
Okay. So what else? What have we got over here?
So these are tubers.
Maybe we can get the camera to take a quick
Yeah.
look at this.
So this is how I overwinter my dahlias. You don't only have to overwinter by pulling them up. You dig them up, and I store them. There's lots of different mediums that you can store them in. This is vermiculite. It just helps keep moisture into the tuber, so that way it doesn't shrivel up like these right here.
No, not you. That's okay.
So they don't shrivel up like these right here. These have not been stored in any medium at all, and so they've just been stored in an air in the crate. Now most of these are still viable. This is what a clump will look like when you dig it up. Now that's one of the things that I love about dahlias though, is that you plant one of these little guys.
Okay, and we can zoom in on this maybe so you can see the little guy.
He's tiny.
Oh, he is tiny.
So you plant one of these, and you take care of it and baby it all season.
That looks like a chicken bone.
It does. They come in all different shapes and sizes. But you plant this, and it'll grow in to this. With, I mean, there's at least 10 tubers on there that you would cut apart, and then you have, instead of one plant, you have 10 new plants. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So dahlias sound difficult to grow.
They're a little bit of a diva until you figure them out.
Okay. Okay.
They take a lot of care up front, and that's one of the things. My first year, I didn't grow a lot. I grew maybe 100 plants.
A lot. She doesn't grow a lot. 100 plants.
But they were box store varieties, so I didn't spend a lot of money.
Okay.
So a lot of people, especially dahlia growers, say don't buy from box stores because they carry a lot of diseases from being shipped overseas. And then it promises you so many plants, and then you open up the package, and if they have a broken neck, they won't be viable. But the first few years, that's what I bought. I bought cheap box store varieties.
Practice.
Yes, that's exactly what I did, because if they died or if they didn't overwinter right in my mediums, I didn't care that I lost them because it wasn't a lot of money. I mean, some tubers, you can go online right now, and a lot of tubers sell for $50 a piece.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And so when you're spending a lot of money, you don't want that $50 to die over winter. So it takes a lot of practice to get it right. So my first few years, that's all I did. I bought box store varieties, and I figured out what I was doing and how to care for them properly. And then eventually, now I'm getting into the fancy varieties and ordering and spending more money on them.
You're very patient.
Yes.
I would not. I would be like, nope, on to something new.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about, you use this particular medium, but can you use anything else?
Yeah, so there's lots of different mediums, and I've been experimenting a lot this last fall with mediums. This is coarse vermiculite. You could use pet bedding, like pine shavings that you would use for rabbits. I've had good success with that. A lot of people will use, especially in the northern states, will use peat moss. I found personally that peat moss molds my tubers and rots them very quickly, so I do not use that anymore. Every experience that I've had with it has resulted in my tubers just rotting very quickly. You can also do this method. A lot of people are moving towards just storing them in crates in the air, and although this one has a lot of shrivel, most of these tubers will still be viable. It'll start waking up this spring and producing, you can see little shoots like this.
Oh, yeah.
This little shoot. And when they start doing that, you can start cutting them apart, kind of doing surgery on your clump and pulling them apart, so that way you end up with all these different tubers to
So
plant.
that's not even in the ground, and it's doing that.
Yep. So
Oh,
he's waking up for the spring. I can pot him up. That's why I was saying earlier, you can grow from seed from a tuber, or you can propagate this and do a pool and then plant this plant, and it'll grow the same variety as this.
But they don't get any water. How do you, I mean...
Right now he doesn't. He will eventually. If I pot him up, I'll start watering him.
Okay.
That's a big thing with dahlia tubers as well. When you plant them in the ground, that's why I said they're a little bit of a diva, and a lot can go wrong really quickly if you don't know what you're doing. When you plant a dahlia tuber in the ground, you don't want to water it. That's where most people make a mistake, is they water them right away, and you don't want to water them until green foliage appears above the ground. So once the shoot pops up like this, then you'll start slowly watering him.
That's
but
wild.
At first, if you start to water it, it's going to get too wet and it's going to rot your tuber.
You're right, they are divas.
Yeah.
So when can you put them in the ground?
You do not want to put them in the ground until after Mother's Day.
Okay.
You definitely want to put them in the ground after your last freeze. So I know ours is somewhere around April 15th, but you know Arkansas weather.
I
We
do.
always get a freeze after April 15th, so
Yeah.
you have to protect them. Now, a lot of people do try to overwinter their dahlias, especially here in Arkansas, and you can do that, and a lot of people have had success with that. You just want to heavily mulch it, maybe put some cardboard over it, that kind of thing, to protect it. After you've cut the stalk down to the ground, you'll put all that on top and hope for the best.
Okay.
Because if it freezes, your tubers will rot. They'll turn to mush and they're not viable anymore. So as you can see, I spend a lot of money now on my tubers. I don't want to take that risk, especially with the amount that you spend on them. But people can do it. You can do it.
Well, I think our president does.
Yeah,
she doesn't dig them up at all.
She doesn't.
But she's got a green thumb anyway.
She did last year, though.
Oh.
She dug up a clump, and I helped her divide it. So that was really fun. It was a massive clump, too. So I think there was 20 or 30 different tubers that came from that after she divided it.
So where are dahlias from? They're not a native plant. Tell
To
me
Mexico.
Really?
Yeah, the Aztecs started growing them in the 1800s, so they've been around for a long time. They were actually started to be grown not as a flower, but as like a potato. So people used to eat the
tuber.
tubers. You can actually eat the tubers like you could a potato. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're just full of knowledge. No, this is great. I think in a few minutes we are going to have some pictures of some things that you've grown. But before we get there, what about how long does it take before they bloom the first time?
It kind of depends on if you wake them up early. So like mine are already waking up now. So if I pot them up now and start growing them inside, they're going to bloom earlier. But ultimately, you can expect June through October, you're going to get blooms here.
Constant, continual blooms?
Continue. That's one of the things. There's a lot of things that I love about dahlias. A peony, for example, you would cut and you wouldn't get another bloom, right? That's one of the things that I love about dahlias is they're cut and come again. And the more that you cut, the more the stalk will just, do you see all these shoots that it grows off? They'll just keep producing blooms from June to September, October until our first frost.
So you deadhead?
You can.
But you don't have
You
to?
don't have to. Like I'll let mine go to seeds, and I collect the seeds to grow my own seeds.
Of course you do.
So all of my dahlias that are started from seed now, my 500 seedlings are seeds that I collected from last year. So
are you just doing this for you? Are you selling them, or?
I am going to sell my seedlings this year, and then I hope to sell tubers in the fall to our local community. That's the thing is like, when you go to order tubers right now, a lot of the tuber sellers are from northern states. There's not a whole lot in our area, so I hope to provide tubers to people locally and at a cost that they can afford instead of $50 for a tuber, something that's more costly.
So you said they came from Mexico, and yet you're telling me that the northern have, what's up
They
with that?
have a lot. I think it's because of their climate. It's wetter. And so I think that's why they have really good successes. They have a wetter climate. And then in the really, really, really heat of the summer, when it gets over 100, they struggle during that period. You'll get
I do too, don't
lighter,
you?
yes. They'll get lighter color blooms. They won't bloom as much, that kind of thing. So you just got to make sure you water them and protect them through that heat. So.
Okay. All right, so I think we'll take a very quick break.
Okay.
And then you brought some beautiful pictures, and we'll
did.
go over those.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about some things you need to do in March for your garden, for your yard, etc. So we'll be right back.
What if there was an enterprise that was dedicated to grow local talent, especially original music with substantive content? A place where local musicians could be elevated to a larger audience through broadcasting and live performances. What if they had the benefit of professional mentoring and production offered by a world-class musician whose mission it was to help them hone and develop their performance skills, to help them realize their artistic dreams. This is our vision and our mission, to bring what ifs into reality and into your world. Stay tuned.
Okay, so let's start looking at some of those great pictures. And we've got a great graphics guy in the back, so we're going to have to talk him through when to put up the first one. So let's start with that. Tell us about that.
So this is a variety called Vista. That's another thing about dahlias is you have all different sizes. So you can do low growing varieties that are only going to grow about 2 feet tall that you could use in your bedding, so around your yard. And then you have dahlias that grow all the way to 5 feet tall. So
You're
this
kidding.
is just, no. This is just an ornamental variety, so it's low growing, but you can see how many blooms are on it. And then you can cut them all off and they'll bloom right back. So
Wow.
Yeah.
What else have we got going on here? Oh, man.
So this is another thing that I love about dahlias.
Let's put that up. There we go.
Dahlias come in every color but blue. Every color. You can get it in any color. And then it also comes in lots of different forms. So they have collarette forms, they have cactus varieties, they have
Yes.
pom-pom varieties.
Like those?
Yes, lots and lots of different colors.
Okay.
And they also come in different sizes. They'll come in something as small as a quarter, but then all the way up to a dinner plate. So you can
The blooms.
bigger than my head. Yes.
Oh, my
So some of the
goodness.
blooms are bigger than my head.
So what is this on the left-hand side of the screen there?
So that's just, these are all flowers from my garden from last season. So as you can see, there's lots of different colors, there's lots of different forms, and they're just lots of harvest. I harvest every 3 days and get buckets and buckets of blooms. So
What are you doing with all those blooms?
last year I just enjoyed a lot of them in my house. I had some master gardeners come and pick from my field. My mentor came over and got to just harvest flowers. Me and Joanne have donated to a couple of the elderly, I think, assisted living places, and we did some arranging classes, that kind of thing, and just donated the flowers to that. This year I'd like to try to sell some cut flower bouquets, but we'll see how that goes at the farmer's market.
Well, okay, the farmer's market, there's that, but there's also a really great place here in Bella Vista that you might pedal it forward.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yes.
know, she's great about
Yes.
things like that.
Yes.
And that just keeps things in the community.
Well, and dahlias is one of those flowers that you can't ship the blooms. They don't last that long. So florists import a lot of their flowers, from overseas. But dahlias you can't because their blooms don't ship well. And so that's something that florists, when they have it, they have to get locally.
Gotcha. So do we have more pictures at all? If so, they'll be popping up on the screen. If not, then we'll talk about something else. Ooh, okay, so tell me now, because like you said, that looks like a different cluster or a different form.
This is a novelty form. They have informal decorative. Some are really good for arranging because their vase life is longer, and some are not. And like I said, it just really depends on what you want as a grower. So I feel like with dahlias, there's a flower for everyone because there are so many different colors and sizes.
Look at that.
As you can
Is that
see.
a black one?
It's almost black. That's Thomas Edison, and so it's a deep, dark purple.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
And there are some that are almost black. Yeah, they're working on a black one now.
So why not blue?
I think it's something to do with its genetics. It just can't produce blue. But they have every other color. So
What's your fave?
Oh, I don't have a favorite, honestly, as you can see.
Yeah, it's too
I'm
hard.
addicted to all of them. I find a new one every day that I love. So I've ordered a lot of dahlias. Like I said, I'll have at least over 200 varieties this season. And then I plan to plant at least 250 seedlings. So those will all be new varieties as well in my garden.
So if somebody's going to start doing this, a brand new beginner, probably somebody that does not necessarily have a green thumb, maybe purple thumb, who knows, what would you recommend to start with? Is there one that is a better starter than others?
I would get something from Home Depot or Lowe's or Walmart, just something from a box store. So that way, if you lose it, it's only going to cost you $5, right?
What if I bought them from you?
You can buy them from me. And then you could get any variety because I don't plan to sell them expensively.
Yeah.
But basically, I would pick a color that you like, right?
Blue.
That would go in, well, they don't have them in
I
blue,
know, I'm sorry. Purple's okay.
Purple's pretty.
Yeah,
They have
yeah.
lots of different ones in purple. But you could pick any one. I mean, it depends on the form. That's the cool things about dahlias is you can come out to the garden and say, ooh, I really like that one. Let's grow that one and pick the one that you like the best.
You
So,
know, I am not fond of the color yellow, and yet yellow flowers are so gorgeous.
yes.
And
There's
looks
lots
like
of
you had
yellow.
a lot of
I have
yellow
a lot of
ones.
yellow. I
Yeah.
also have a lot of orange. My
Really?
daughter's favorite color is orange, so I've gotten her in the garden with me by growing orange dahlias. And that's the cool thing about seedlings too is, like I said, they're a whole new form and variety, so you get to name them. Nobody's ever grown that seed before, so all the orange ones I'm gonna put Arya's name on. And so that's my daughter's name, yeah. So
Excellent.
those are gonna be hers. So.
Excellent. Okay, well, man, you're just a wealth of information. You know, let's. I think I'm a convert. I'm not sure. Maybe I will have you help me get started
Yes,
later.
I would love that.
Yeah. But for now, we need to kind of talk a little bit, help people understand what's happening in the garden in March. So one of the things for sure, you're preparing your beds.
Your beds, yeah. You're cutting down old stalks, that kind of stuff, removing that leaf litter, and just prepping your bed for the spring so that way your new stuff can pop up.
I'm a master naturalist as well, so I'm very reluctant on that timing for the weather because there's a lot of little critters and a lot of little things that are in that leaf litter and those stalks and everything. So I try to leave one bed that's pretty much whatever they want to do with it, they can.
Personally, I wait. I don't do it now in March. I always wait until after the end of April.
That's good.
I've just learned the weather in Arkansas. We always seem to have a frost or a freeze in late April, and so I always try to wait till after Mother's Day. It's honestly close to Mother's Day is when I start doing that stuff, especially because we won't disturb the bees and that kind of thing.
Exactly, exactly, because people don't think about those. Perennials, though, can we start dividing some perennials? I think maybe we can.
Yes, you can. If they've popped up, you can easily identify them and see them. You can start dividing them now. I know for our plant cell, we need to start putting in information on what perennials we're going to put in the plant cell, right?
That's it. And you fertilize your peonies now, too. Or, you know, a lot of people call them peonies.
Yes.
Depends on where you're from, right?
Yes, it does.
Also, about bulbs now, and I guess you could plant like gladiola bulbs in 2-week time
Intervals,
frames.
yes,
Thank you.
yeah, succession
that,
planting,
So
yes.
you have time for them. You never run out that way.
So I actually tried to plant gladiolus bulbs a few years ago, and one of the things that I learned is that they like cool weather. And so now is a good time to plant them because if you wait too late, it's too hot for them and they won't grow very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Annuals, not yet. Unless you're starting seeds inside, maybe. I'm not much of an annual person. I really like the perennials and the native plants because less work.
Yes.
Absolutely. So
And less money.
and less money. Also, veggies. Do you grow any veggies?
I've tried. I live in Bella Vista, and so all the deer like to come
Oh,
up.
they
and
do. It's a salad bar.
They do. They love to eat all of my vegetables, so I don't really grow a whole lot of vegetables. And I've kind of grown too many dahlias, so I don't really have the space to grow a lot of vegetables.
You know-
I am trying. I did not know until after the class about cool season vegetables, and so I am trying to do some lettuces and things like that this year.
Yeah, and that's now pretty soon now. Anytime there's several cold weather vegetables that you could go ahead. I have 14 raised beds.
Oh, wow.
And I tried to do most of those in vegetables, but I do things that are easy, or I'm really into trying particularly all heirloom tomatoes. Well, you can't
wow.
do those now at all, but you could do.
Start your seeds. You can start your seeds.
We talked about patience, didn't we? I don't have any, but maybe this will teach me to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, trees and shrubs. Right now, I think a lot of that has to do with watering. Hopefully, we'll have another spring where we get a lot of good rains, etc. So I think that's all important. Another thing that I know it's so hard in the winter. You want to be out there in the garden, you want to do things, but there's so many beautiful seed catalogs and things and places to buy things.
Yep.
So online you can do that.
Yep.
But I want to make sure that you, studio audience, knows about the websites of both the Garden Club and the Master Gardeners. And the Master Gardeners, we're a part of the University of Arkansas, and there are really great, there's great information on any subject, whether you're growing vegetables, whether anything that's going
Yep.
on. And also right now, it's a time for doing some test programs. Sometimes with the Master Gardeners, we get an opportunity to test some things for,
Yes.
for folks.
Yep.
So anyway, houseplants, man, I'm so sick of houseplants. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? I'm ready for plants to go back outside again.
I may do really good with dahlias, but I kill all my houseplants.
Do you really?
I do. I think I overwater.
Oh, probably.
Not very good.
Yeah. With lawns, you could probably do some pre-emergence. I'm also a natural lawn person. I don't do pesticides. I just don't. If I do anything, it's all native. And even though I get really tired of the dead nettle and what's the other one that looks like dead nettle anyway? It comes up with the purple flower on the lawns. You know what I mean.
Yes.
But anyway, it's time for all of that kind of stuff to
Yes.
happen.
It takes over your garden.
I know. What's the thing I heard once? If it pulls up easily, it's a plant that you want to keep. If it's hard to get out, it's a weed.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Garden tools, we have a few minutes here. How many, do you have special tools you use?
I do for dahlias. I have snips are one of your most important tools because you're going to be cutting flowers left and right. So you want to have a good pair of sharp snips for cutting. And then for dividing as well. So you'll want to use really, really sharp snips or even florist scissors. They have a special type of scissors that they use that helps you cut apart your dahlias when you go to divide them. So those are two of the most important tools that you'll want. And then, of course, when you're digging, you want to have, a lot of people will try to use shovels, but you don't want to because it could cut your tuber when you go to dig it up. And so I use a, what's that called? Like you would use for hay.
A pitchfork.
Yes, a pitchfork.
Yes. That's how you dig potatoes too.
Yes.
So you don't.
And so yes, and like I said, they're very similar to potatoes. So I would use a pitchfork and just kind of go around the outside to loosen it, and then you'll take the stalk and just pull it up from the stalk.
Have you eaten any of them?
I have not. No, I wouldn't waste that on.
Oh,
food.
you wouldn't waste it. Okay, I
No,
got you.
I prefer the flowers.
Yeah,
So.
I got you. Let's talk. We got a few more minutes, so I just want to talk a little bit more about some things that are coming up. There's not a lot of things going on right now, but the Bella Vista plant sale is coming up, and I think next month.
It is April 12th.
Yes,
Yes, April
that's
12th.
the Bella Vista,
Yep.
and then ours is May the 2nd and May 3rd.
Yep.
And folks, listen to me, please. We are moving. The Master Gardeners, we're moving. We've always had the plant sales for the last several years at the Methodist Church down right off the square in Bentonville. But we have an incredible pantry garden out at Helping Hands over on D Street, I think it is. But we're going to move our plant sale there this next year. Get the word out because we want you to follow us. It's going to be really helpful for us. That way we don't have to move a lot of
everything.
plants and all of that. And we're doing a lot of upgrades to the garden.
Yep.
We've put in a new watering system. And we're in the process of finishing that. And all those new big old
Galvanized
planter.
beds. Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
yes,
Yep.
yes. Okay, so any last words? Not last words, but you got anything else to say that you'd like to?
I just think everybody should have a dahlia in their garden. You'll fall in love.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And we're going to check back with you. We'll come back around sometime, and maybe we can come over and cut some of those beautiful
That
things
would
and
be
have them on the
awesome.
garden show.
Yes,
Will that work?
would be awesome.
All
Yep.
right. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We will see you next month. I think we're having a panel, perhaps, or perhaps what we'll be doing is showing you where you buy all those plants. So see you next month.